Stood together and they said, no, we're not going to let those bosses crush us. We're going to form together in a union and we're going to resist and we're going to fight back. And they did. And that was part of the birth of the labor union movement in America. And they shed their blood that day. They were willing to die for the rights that they believed in, for political free speech and for the right to unionize. And this is a very important right that you should all remember. So I want you to remember when you think of the sit-down strike in the 30s in Detroit, when you think of the Seattle General Strike of 1919, when you think of the socialist mayors that Milwaukee had in the first part of the 20th century, it's important that Scott Walker and the legislators all the way up in Madison should hear us, and we should let them know that unions are our power. We need to stand with our union. Never give up. Remember what happened in Bayview, and you make the voices of labor strong, so they'll resound throughout Wisconsin and throughout our nation this year. Thank you.
Brian's right. Today is the day that the law would have gone into effect. The attack on workers' rights. It was supposed to be published today, except it was passed illegally. So now it is in legal limbo. We hope for a very, very long time. And by the way, I mean, there's a couple fitting analogies. This is the day that, this is also the day that the famous Triangle Shirtworks factory fire occurred that helped spark the union movement earlier in the 20th century. This is the anniversary, the 100th anniversary of that. So that's amazing. And then we're having this right here on hallowed labor ground for Wisconsin, when another Wisconsin governor, Governor Jeremiah Rusk, gave the shoot to fire order and mowed down people there just to get an 8-hour day, which we take for granted but was fought for and people died for. And so people died for these rights, and are we going to get them back? Yeah! So I think that this is a remarkable movement, and it's really a remarkable time in our history, because we have a chance. We know, as all of you know, union density has dropped dramatically in the private sector. The last bastion of organized labor power is the public sector at the state and local level. And so this is their attempt to do the final assault on the middle class. And so we not only to beat this back, we need to move forward beyond this to recreate the middle class and recreate economic opportunity and security in this country. Not the least articulate or the least aggressive in this fight, far from it, because he's from Bayview. So I think it's very appropriate that the state senator from Bayview, the site of the Bayview massacre, is also one of the leaders of our workers' rights movement. So Chris, thanks for coming.
I've been getting it the last 2 weeks that I've been back in Wisconsin, people coming up to say thanks, and every time I turn it around and say thank you. I mean, we couldn't have done this without your support. When we left, we said, okay, let's open this up, let's give people a chance to see what's in here, let's give them a chance to figure out what Walker and the Republicans are trying to do, and you guys stepped in, and you stepped in like never before in our state's history, and it's just been amazing. We did this for you. And you guys have delivered in a way we never thought possible. You guys woke up a sleeping middle class in not just Wisconsin, but across the country. They're all watching what you guys are doing. It's amazing. Early on, I get a lot of questions from reporters who weren't from areas where they had the same labor history that we did. And they would say, well, obviously, you know, this is something intricate. These people, it's just union people that are at the Capitol, and no one else really understands this. And I said, whoa, hold on a second. I represent Bayview. And let me tell you what happened in Bayview 125 years ago. We were the site of where a national movement stopped. And we earned the 8-hour workday. It was going around across the country, but people fought and died for this. And we're coming up on the 125th anniversary in just a little over a month. And this is, we get it. We've had it. You know, we were the first state to have AFSCME, to have public employee unions in the country. We have a strong labor tradition. This is part of who we are. It's a part of our nature. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it and be able to represent Bayview. We've got, I want to just go over a couple of things that I think it's what's key about where we're at right now. Because this is, it's so exceptional, and we can get lost in it. But I think what we've done, what the members of the Assembly and the state senators, the Democratic state senators did, is we defined every step along the way. We tried to open it up for you. Open up the process, open up government for you. We've got Representative Kessler and Representative Sinicki with us, and these guys spent over 60 hours debating this bill and bringing attention to it, drawing out what the details are and how it's going to change our lives in Wisconsin. They spent over 100 hours, gavelled a public hearing, so everyone who wanted to be heard on this bill and the impacts it'll have could be heard in our state. And that's the reason why the Capitol was open all of that time, is because they kept it open, having hearings in the middle of the night. It's truly amazing. Thank you, 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 thank you. And obviously the state Senate Democrats, me and my 13 colleagues, we stepped away and we stayed away from our families, from our homes, from our loved ones for over 3 weeks to give you a chance to step in and be heard and be seen and get attention paid to you and what this does to your communities and to your lives. And we were able to get the attention, and we did that to make sure that you guys could be heard. And what I think is even more interesting is every step along the way, on the other side, you had Scott Walker and the Republicans doing everything they could to shut you up, to try and shut you up. And it's almost to the you've got the evil character up there. Scott's holding it up, and it is almost like the comic book character. How bad? He turns it the other way. That's a good Scott, not the picture. Scott. Every step along the way, they shut down the legislative hotline because you guys wouldn't stop calling. They shut down the public hearing because they said, oh, these people aren't going away. We, you know, it's 3 in the morning. We're tired. You guys just go away and forget about this. And then they shut down the legislative debate in the middle of the night at 1 in the morning and forced through the vote in a matter of seconds because they said, oh, these guys are going to keep on talking. We're sick of hearing it. And they shut it down. And all these people won't go home. They keep on hanging out in the Capitol and spending the night. We're you know what? I don't like Snuggies either, but I think the fact that they banned them from the Capitol is just ridiculous. I don't think they're a threat to democracy. But every step they said they shut them out. They said you can't spend the night in the Capitol anymore. You're out. You know, there's sometimes it's dangerous. And I thought what's interesting is you have to go back, because so much has happened. The first night they did this, Walker was amazing. He said, "Oh yeah, it's a public threat to safety. So the police are asking us to do this." Do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember this? 3 hours later, the police came back in the middle of the rotunda and said, "Yeah, we're spending the night tonight with the protesters." We're sorry, Walker, we're not with you. And they shut it, they said, oh, well, screw it. We're not even going to hide it. We're going to shut it down. And then they shut down the debate. They shut out the public again, and they rammed it through in 2 hours, tripping over themselves. I'm sure the National Republicans said, you know, Scooter, you're screwing this up. You gave it all away in $1 billion phone call. mention it's supposed to be about a budget. You didn't mention it the whole 20-minute phone call. You didn't mention the budget. You didn't mention, all you said is, oh, this is about being a domino. We're not a domino, we're Wisconsin. And every step, he tried to shut it out. And they tripped over themselves, and they accidentally tripped over the law in the process. And now we've got a court that stepped in and says, no, you can't do that. You cannot trip over what the law says. And this law, it's important to remember what law they broke. That is the state open meetings law that says you have to give notice. And then, you know, it's totally not in their nature if you look at everything they did, because they broke all of that. They broke that. The courts came along and said no, and now they pushed it up because the Attorney General, who decided to go with politics instead of policy, pushed it up, and now it's going to be before the Supreme Court, which is fantastic because there's a fella there named David Prosser, truly hoping you wouldn't notice that there's going to be an election on April 5th. He had a press release. The first press release he put out is, I'm here to help Scott Walker. And everything he said since this started is, what press release are you talking? Somebody else put that out. I didn't put that out. And now it's square in his lap. So the first election we've got since this all started, and the bill is going to be before that Supreme Court on April 5th. And Kloppenberg, a name, somebody said, what's a Kloppenberg earlier today? Kloppenberg is what democracy looks like in the state of Wisconsin. So I got to tell you all that, because I think it's amazing, because we're standing here, the generation before me, and I wasn't born at the time, but talked about marching with Father Grappi. And that was the movement of the time, to march with Father Grappi for welfare reform, for fair housing. They took the assembly to demand fair housing, and now here we are, and we're a part of the next movement. We're a part of the next generation. You know, it may not feel like it at times. It may feel like, oh, we're running against the stream here. This is really tough, but we're part of a movement. You know, this plaque is up here because it was part of a movement. And now we're continuing that. So that weight that you might feel on your shoulders is carrying this to the next generation, keeping the labor movement going, keeping workers' rights going, and handing it off so that our kids can have a better life, that we can have a middle class in the state of Wisconsin, that we can have a middle class in the United States of America. And that's what's at stake here. And that's what's so amazing about it, is this peaceful protest has continued for so long, for over a month, and we're fighting on the right side of history. And you guys are with us. And that's amazing. And we're going to win this. We're going to win this. It keeps going. It starts again on April 5th, and it continues with the recalls that are going against the Republicans who tried to shut you out. Trying to shut you up. We've got a democratic process that says if you don't listen, we've got a tool in our toolkit. It's called recall. And so it continues with that, and we'll see what happens in exactly, where's my clock right now? We've got 9 months, 8 months, a little over 8 months before we can recall Governor Walker. It continues for freedom. So thank you guys very much for your support. Keep this movement going. It keeps going as long as you guys are willing to keep it going.